ask and answer any questions related to process that anyone may have, including yourself, all right? We're not going to proceed in executive session as we often do in these situations. We are in open session, and you understand that this proceeding is open enough that I will keep notes of what is discussed. Sure.
Can we make it clear that it's his choice to have an open session?
Yes.
As opposed to closed private session?
I need a clarification of definition, because executive means to me that there are executives there, but executive means more private.
It's private, it's not public, and nobody else is allowed.
He wouldn't be here, you wouldn't be here?
No, I wouldn't
You
either
would,
way.
but, yeah, I don't mind other people being here, if that's what open means.
That's up to you, but yes.
Okay, sure.
And
A
that's
private
your
session means, nobody can wander in and listen, but right now, anybody can open the door. Anybody in the public can open the door and wander in.
That's
It's an
fine.
open meeting.
Sure.
Okay. As long as it's up to you, though.
Thank you, yeah.
And Mr. Burns, at your request, I understand is here as a member of the press to observe what happens.
I didn't request him, but he is here and I don't mind it.
All right.
That's all I'm saying.
Very good.
So it's up to you that it's here, is what I'm trying to say.
Sure.
If you say you want an executive session, then it's just us.
I'm fine with him here.
As long as you understand.
Yes, sir.
Dr. House, you are the chair.
Sure, Dr. Strong, thanks for coming in, and we've read your request and description. Do you want to add anything to what you already said?
I've sent so many things over the years, I'm not sure that you have the packet, but it is the second consent decree that I'm really wanting reversed.
Can we start at the very beginning? Because this happened before any of us were on the board.
And I'm glad, it's great to see new faces.
None of this happened before anybody was
Okay.
here. So I don't really, and also we have no idea, we don't talk among ourselves about past cases.
Okay.
It's very private.
Okay.
So I don't know anything about it. First time I met you, I read this when I got it this week, but it's the only time I know anything about it is what's in this.
Okay.
Your restatement.
Okay.
So please just start from the beginning about what happened.
Sure. Without reading the entire packet to you guys, because I hope to read it to the entire board, I will just start from the beginning and kind of give an overview of what happened. In 2009, late 2008, early 2009, I got a third DWI. All right? The board found out. I signed a consent decree. I voluntarily surrendered my DEA license, and I went away to Palmetto Recovery in Rayville, Louisiana for professionals, therapy, and help for 3 months. I did not have a DEA license. I didn't have any phone. I was not seeing patients. I was not in practice. I was under suspension. I was not allowed to practice. In the middle of my rehab, I got a call to come into a dentist-to-dentist basis, and I came in, and Camp Morrison had illegally entered the PMP and found patients that were seen by me, drugs that were prescribed by me. And I put the quotes because that's what the records showed. That's what they trumped up.
They trumped it up, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. Because if you've looked at the patient records, all of the names that he gave me, all of the patient's records are signed by other doctors. The prescriptions that were called into question were written by other doctors, but on my script pad. I have letters from pharmacies saying, sorry for the mistake. So it appeared that I was writing prescriptions, which is a physical impossibility. I didn't have the means to do so. They thought that I was writing these prescriptions through Palmetto, and then they signed, they already had a consent decree typed up. This was no longer a dentist-to-dentist meeting, as I was called in. It was not informal. Camp Morrison slapped the consent decree down. H.O. Blackwood at the time said, sign the damn thing. We have more important things to get to. Your license is on the line. So I signed the damn thing, as he said, because I didn't want to have my license taken away. So they accused me. I signed the consent decree, fined $20,800, and have yet to recoup, or I'm still feeling the sting, because when insurance companies look me up, they don't want to credential me because I've had prescription writing problems, which was never the case. My deal was alcohol related, and I've been clean and sober ever since 2009 when I went away to rehab. The real stinger here is that they put me, or the board put me in Palmetto, thank God. The board took my DEA license, and then they charged me for writing prescriptions with something that they took away. I wasn't able to do it because I had no DEA license. and they put me in a place where it was impossible to write. So to say that I was writing all these prescriptions during that time is just impossible because I wasn't there. And I have all of the prescriptions in the patient's charts, and I brought this before Dr. Blackwood's DOC years ago, and that committee then did find that it had substantial merit to be considered for reconsideration. When it went to the full board, Mr. Hickam asked me if I had officially asked for it to be heard in either executive or open. It was almost like I didn't cross my T or dot my I, and so the board wouldn't hear all of the evidence I had, despite the fact that just a couple of hours before, Drs. Blackwood, Melanson, and Taylor, I think it was, said that it had merit. It's like, yeah, we see your point, so let's take it to the full board. I went to the full board, and the full board didn't hear it, because I think at that time, that board knew, uh-oh, he's really got a point. And they weren't going to give $20,000 away. The board back then was vindictive. They what's the word, extort money. They trump up charges, not all the time. I know there's dentists that do bad things and have to be punished. I did a bad thing with the DWIs, I was punished, and I accept that. I by no means contest that part of the consent decree. It's the second one that is just absolutely flabbergasting and unfounding, because I really didn't and couldn't do it.
Sure. So you're saying that other dentists forged your name?
Not forged by name. The only prescription pad in the office that Dr. Della Huse, Dr. Sanchez, and Dr. Silvestri and Slidell were writing prescriptions on my pad, but their name. So when the pharmacist took it, all he saw was Kenneth Starling on top. He didn't see the signature on bottom.
So you have a prescription pad that had only your name on it, or it had all the other doctors' names?
Just my name.
So these other doctors were breaking the law because you can't write a prescription on someone else's printed pad. You can't pick up his pad and write my name on it.
Yeah, that's probably true, and that should.
So you're saying these other dentists that you know, these are partners of yours?
No, they were just friends and associates that came in one day a week while I was gone to keep my practice afloat.
So they were using your prescription pad illegally, according to what you're saying?
I guess so. Never thought of it that way.
They're signing a document that's not theirs, it's not their name on it.
Right, with their signature, I thought it was okay.
And then you're also saying that the pharmacist made a clerical error in not reading the signature, which I think most pharmacists can't read anybody's signature.
True.
They
Right.
can't say, that's Dr. Smith and this is Dr. Jones. They don't look at it, or
Right.
they can't even tell.
Right,
On my writing, they can't say that there's an R or an M in it, they can't see that.
that's true.
So they just
Yeah.
use a printed prescription.
Yeah, and so when it came across the table as Kenneth Starling's script, it looked like all these scripts were coming through, but it was actually the other doctors who signed the charts.
And why do you think Kent Morrison doesn't have the right to look at your drug history? Because he's at the time, he doesn't work here anymore, but he's
Right,
an investigator. Doesn't he have the right to look at your drug history?
Not through the PMP, which requires a DEA license.
No,
He
not
did have a
completely.
DEA license.
I can have a designation, an assistant to look through drugs for me. That's a legal thing. It doesn't have to be a
Okay.
license.
Fair enough.
And I would also
I
say,
don't know what it was like back then. That's the current.
I would also guess, I would ask, look it up for the past, but I would guess that a state agency has the right to look up your drug history,
Right, now,
involved with your licensing.
correct.
So I don't think it's an illegal act for him to look up your drug license, but I
Okay.
would have to research that.
Notwithstanding that, the stuff that was found, if it was legal, fine, but the stuff that was found, even if it was legal, the content of what was found, that's the part that's just absolutely wrong. Now, I did find this direct quote from the pharmacy board pertaining who can access prescription monitoring information. PMI submitted to the board and audit trail shall be protected health information not subject to public or open records, including but not limited to, subject to disclosure, prescription monitoring information and audit trail information shall not be available for civil subpoena from the board, nor shall information be disclosed, discoverable, or compelled to be produced in any civil proceedings, nor shall such records be deemed admissible as evidence in any civil proceedings for any reason.
This isn't a civil
No,
proceeding,
civil
this is an administrative proceeding. We're a licensing agency, this is not civil.
But that's.
Good, fair enough, I just wanted to have all my
I'm just
bases
saying, that
covered.
doesn't pertain, we have the right to look at your drug history.
Well, no, or any licensee action.
And any like, see, the state board that regulates your license has the right to look at your drug history, even though they're not a dentist. Rusty Hickam happens to be a dentist, but if he was not, he still has the right to look at my drug history. Or his
Yeah,
drug
they have
history.
the right to look
As
at mine.
providers, true, would that be the same for an investigator?
Yes.
Yeah, working for the board,
That
yes.
is an
Well, it would
employee
be
of the board.
for an
Absolutely.
investigator or lawyer.
I'm just trying to get to the point that
Sure.
somebody at the board finding out your drug history is legal and proper.
Okay.
I want you to get, I think, in my
Right.
opinion, that's
Okay.
not an illegal act for someone at the board to look at your drug history.
Okay, understood.
Can I pose a procedural question to you, Dr. Kelly? You are seeking reconsideration of the adverse sanctions of the consent decree of 3/5/2010, which you entered at that time, presumably voluntarily, at least by the document. And this consent decree was entered prior to, and to some degree in lieu of, a disciplinary hearing. If the board were to say, we will rescind the adverse sanctions and the consent decree, would you be prepared to proceed toward a disciplinary hearing with regard to these charges? Would you be ready to prove them, prove your defenses?
I guess I'm lost. If,
You signed a consent decree, Dr. Starling, back in 2010 in lieu of proceeding before a disciplinary hearing, having a full hearing on the record regarding these charges relating to your prescribing.
at that point, the board, the DOC that I met with didn't even give me that option. It was signed and everything.
That option is in the law.
Well,
If you were
I'm not
to,
concerned.
if you were
Yeah.
to agree to the rescission of this, in other words, if the board said, all right, we'll rescind this, would you be prepared to accept going forward with a disciplinary hearing
To
on
address,
these issues,
to address
to address these issues?
the right or wrongness of it?
Yes.
Yes.
So you're ready to go do that?
I'm assuming so. I don't want to railroad myself here. I just wanted to be heard that the charges
You're
are not
prepared to
right.
hire a lawyer and to prove what you're saying about all of these prescriptions?
Well, I guess it
It's a
may.
yes or no, sir.
Well, I don't know, because I don't understand the law lingo.
Okay, well, let me help you, because that's part of my job,
Okay.
all
Well,
right?
he would have a chance to think about it for a month.
Yeah, you do.
There's no hurry on anything.
Yeah.
What he's trying to say is that you had a DOC committee hearing, and everything was stopped because you signed a consent decree. So the hearing didn't happen.
Correct.
So he's saying one option is just to wipe the slate clean and say, forget about the consent decree, just throw it out now and proceed to the hearing, which you stopped by doing the consent decree, just like it never happened.
Okay.
I mean, you're up to you, of course.
Right. Now, what would happen with the fine that was paid? Because that's part of my request, is that be refunded, because I didn't do what I was charged with.
That's up to the board, whether or not they would reimburse that to you before or after the disciplinary hearing.
Okay. So then, if I go forward with the disciplinary hearing, if this consent decree is rescinded, then I would be opening myself up to, for lack of a better word, vindictive action by the board, because that's been my experience, guys. I'm so scared of that they would hit me with more consent decrees and say, look at what you did, and because you fought us.
Actually, you have an option, you wouldn't have to go before the board. You can request a hearing by the administrative law judge, because it just changed that law last year. You wouldn't have to go to a formal hearing by the board. You could go directly to the.
You go to the judge if you prefer. You have a lot of options.
There's you probably didn't know, or it appears you didn't know, but there's due process. There was due process back then, and there's due process now.
I was offered no due process back then.
Everybody has due process in the United States. Everybody has due process.
And we want to make sure, that's what we're here for, is to make sure you get due process. That's why I'm pushing you on this issue, is to see whether or not you're ready to use your due process rights.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Right? I mean, wouldn't y'all, if you were accused wrongly and you're, I know you can't advise me, but wouldn't you? I mean, you're accused of something and fined $20,000 that you didn't have, and charges that you are not guilty of, and you have the proof. I mean, wouldn't you need to tell your story to somebody?
Sure, oh, you have the right to a hearing.
That's part of me that I can't put myself in somebody else's position. You do what you feel like you need to do, it's totally fine. We're not here to try to tell you what to do or what not to do.
We just want to make sure that you understand that you have the option based on your request, to seek a full disciplinary hearing either before the board or an ALJ, if you chose to do that. That might be the result of what you're asking for.
I'm so scared of Arthur Hickam that I would like to do it before the judge.
Well, you don't have to decide that today.
You don't have to
We're
say-
not- we're not-
You have to talk to a lawyer.
Again, okay.
You
We
decide
don't
for
make that
yourself, which
decision,
is-
that's up to
us.
you later.
Right.
Well, let me tell you, this is certainly different than the experience I've had with DOCs before.
Well, that's fine, we'd expect you to get good legal advice before you do anything. We're just talking to them.
Those guys didn't.
This
We're
is
not-
just, this is strictly
We're not making any
informal,
decisions right now.
dentist to dentist, which we're fine, you know, we're not here to railroad anybody, we're not here to,
This is new.
And our job is to make sure that you have the options that you're entitled to under the law and the Constitution.
So one option we have is just to deny the sole claim and nothing happens then, right?
If the question on the table today is reconsideration.
And if we say no, then he is where he is. And the other option we have is to reconsider.
Well, is to send it to the board for reconsideration, and the board later this afternoon can decide whether it wants to modify or simply rescind the consent decree.
And since it's been 10 years, that might be an option the board would take to say, okay, 10 years is up, just start over again. And forget about it, no other proceedings, no other hearing, just, get your license back.
Could.
You're looking for your DA license, right?
No, it's been restored.
Okay, so what are you looking for?
I'm looking for, A, the refund, B, my name being a punished dentist on the board website to come down because insurance companies won't credential me because I've had disciplinary action. People go on
10
there
years
clicking.
ago?
Oh, yeah, it's still there. I mean, that board, man, was so, I can't even tell you how.
Well, I can't
terrible
comment on
experience.
what happened 10 years ago, I wasn't here.
I certainly can.
The options we have are just saying, okay, it's over now, you still have a history, like let you out of jail or whatever you call it, but no more penalties, no more probation, all that's over. But you're looking to
Well, that's
expunge
been
the
over.
past.
Yes, expunge the past.
So that's what you're looking for.
My license is in good standing, I've got my DEA,
Oh,
I'm free and
okay.
clear of
I
all
don't quite
this.
understand that.
I need it expunged and a refund is what I'm looking for.
Which one's more important?
Why would I have to pick
You don't have to pick, we have to pick.
between expungement or refund?
I don't know what the.
Why are they mutually exclusive?
They're not, I'm just asking you how bad is, I don't know exactly what the expungement would get for you after 10 years. That's something the insurance companies care about
Yes.
after 10 years. I didn't know that.
Yes. They still ask, have you ever been fined? Have you ever surrendered your license? Have you ever had, not in the past year, have you ever had disciplinary action? I have to check yes and go through, and half the new ones I applied for are denied because they don't want to credential a bad dentist. And according to the LSBD website and the history, I'm a bad dentist because
I'm
that's
just,
what I was found.
as procedurally, and I'll have to research, I don't know if the board has the power to erase the past. It's one thing to say, there's no more sanctions, there's no probation, there's no fines, there's nothing outstanding. You just clear the slate down, move forward.
My slate is already clear though, so.
I don't
from
know
that
if the
point-
board has the ability to just go back in history and erase things. I don't know if that's physically possible, I'd have to check.
well, it would be physically possible.
How so? I mean legally.
I mean, physically.
I'm talking about legally.
You said
Is it
physically.
legally possible to
Physically
go
it's
back and
possible,
just
but
erase
I
that?
think that's why I asked the question about whether you'd be ready to go forward with some sort of disciplinary hearing or proceeding.
So the other option is just to have a completely new hearing, a whole new trial,
Right.
and then hear it, and then you're found innocent or guilty. And if you're innocent, then basically then it is, but you still have the history though, right?
You have the history of the action having been taken, but then you would have the history of having proven that you were without fault.
Right.
And that's why I asked you the questions, if
I
you're
didn't
doing a
understand
disciplinary hearing or an ALJ hearing. It's pretty, from a standpoint of the insurance concerns that you have, right? The fact that there has been disciplinary action, you complied with the requirements of the consent decree, you're still gonna get asked that question on every single insurance application, and it's still in the National Practitioners Database.
Sure.
Can we go and erase the National Practitioner Database?
You can amend the National
But
Practitioners
it's still there, that's what I'm trying
Database.
to say, we
But
can't
it's
erase
still
the federally
there.
program that your name's on.
Right, how does that work and how is that legal though, that I'm charged with something, I can prove I have an alibi, I didn't do it, but the sentence is already passed, to go back and say, wait, this guy really didn't do it?
You gotta go through the process. That's what due
Okay.
process is all about.
All right.
That's why I was pressing you about going to a disciplinary hearing or an ALJ hearing. If you want to make the argument that you didn't do it,
Okay,
okay, and there should be a record that you didn't do it,
there it is.
then you gotta go through the process. You gotta go hire a lawyer and do that.
Okay.
If you simply want the board to reconsider the consent decree and simply lift it, whatever is remaining on it, or reimburse you, that still isn't going to change the database
Okay.
or what you would have to report to insurance companies. And I'm telling you this because part of my role here is to help you understand
Okay. Thank
what
you.
your
Doing a good job.
situation is. Good, good.
Good.
I mean, that's,
So in going back to your question, which is more important, my consent decree suspension and all the fines and everything, that's over. I'm living life
I
okay.
didn't understand.
What's important for me is what's right is right, and I was charged $20,000 for something I need to do. I think it's just right morally and ethically that I be refunded.
Well, I was
That would
separating
be
the two,
important.
because the 20,000 is one thing, but the actual history, I'm not sure is erasable. I'm not sure that we can go into the National Data
Right.
Practice Bank from the federal government and erase things.
It would be
We
important.
can
more-
break it up, we can send a letter and say this has been resolved
Mhm.
in your favor, but it's still there.
Right,
We can't change it, it's like having a police record expunged, it's still there, somebody can find it,
sure, okay.
as
Yeah,
opposed
they
to.
do, they even like when they have, people that have had, oh, it's not expunged, is it? It's where you have a police record or something, and it's not sealed, what's it called? What's it called?
You can get an expungement.
it's an expungement, and it can operate either automatically, or it can operate because you request a hearing on expungement, or there is some sort of pardon granted.
But so what happens is that occasionally people will apply for a dental license and they have something that was expunged,
Mhm.
but it's not expunged to everybody.
Correct.
So
We can see
still
some of
see
these.
some
Sure.
of that, even though I always thought if it's expunged, it's expunged.
No,
That's
I
not
found
the way,
that too.
that's not the way it works.
Because my DWI was expunged, so
But still people can
cops
see
just
that.
look it up and it's
Sure,
still
it's still
counted.
there.
Yeah.
So that's, if they want to change that, though, that'd be something with the
I'm
legislature.
just trying to make it clear in my mind that you're asking for us to erase the past, and I'm not sure it's possible to erase things that are written down in other data banks that we don't control. We could send
I don't know if erasing is possible,
we could send a letter saying it's been, as a possibility saying it's been settled, but it's still there.
I would like the satisfaction of the consent decree being overturned or rescinded and the refund is
And that
what
would
I'm
take,
looking for.
now, is that just a procedural thing, would that take a DOC, which is informal, or does that take a formal hearing with a stenographer and lawyers? Or can it be done at the DOC level? This is a DOC level,
I think it would require a disciplinary hearing.
So that's an
I mean, to
informal, we call it a
rescind-
formal hearing.
And reimburse $20,000, basically the board to stand up and say, we were wrong in requiring this consent decree, and we're gonna reverse it. That's gonna require a DOC, that's gonna require a full disciplinary hearing.
Formal.
That's what I would like.
And that would be, that's a full hearing with lawyers and transcripts, and you're gonna put on evidence, and you would have the right to prove that the accusations, the claims that led to this consent decree were invalid. That's what you would essentially have to do. Essentially, it becomes a trial on the merits of the question that was never had because you signed the consent decree.
And that's either at this board level with three, not us probably,
Would
three
be
other board
what
members.
Liberty does. It has to be three other
At the
people.
board, or it's as an independent administrative judge.
Okay.
And you don't have to decide that now, but those are the two options for the hearing.
Okay.
Dr. Starling, one of the things that I noted in your letter from this year in February, as part of the reconsideration hearing that we're having now, is that you said that Mr. Morrison had begin the investigation illegally before you were given opportunity to discuss anything in this informal meeting that you had. So, what you're contending is it's illegal for anyone to do any kind of research before an informal meeting? Is that what you're saying?
No, I wouldn't say that. The part was that the consent decree had already been signed up, and at the level of the dentist-to-dentist meeting, and I've read the Dental Practice Act, that first the DOC meets, you informally talk about everything, and then if they see that a consent decree is warranted, it's typed up and you can either sign it or not for what there's heard.
There's some.
But it was already there on the table turned upside down, and he said, sign
And
it.
they already had the numbers put in and everything like that?
Absolutely, it was 20,800 from the
And it was
start.
signed by the dentist already? Because that would be,
Those dentists,
yes.
after I signed it, I think they signed it.
Okay,
I'm
that's
not
what I'm
sure.
trying to
I
say.
didn't see
So the dentist had
signature
nothing to do with this? The dentist hadn't signed or agreed to anything before you signed it? Because typically, we have a
They
hearing.
did, because I've got it here.
You
and
just
the
said
signatures
it
are on
wasn't
it.
signed in advance. You signed it first, and then the dentist signed it.
Well, no, I think you said that, and I'm
Well,
trying
I'm
to
asking
figure
you,
out.
You
just
said that.
what happened?
Do you think the dentist signed, when you signed it, were all the other signatures already on the document?
I just can't remember that. I know that it was typed up. I know that the.
Typed up, as he was trying to say before, we have, and every lawyer and every administrative office in the world has documents that are signed up that are like boilerplate. And it's like, you do this, and you get that, you do that, and we type it up and we customize it, we put your name in it, those are just standard documents, like Word documents. So they could print up anything. It doesn't mean anything until the dentist, the DDS, on the state board, nominated by the governor and approved by the legislature, signed it. We have the power to do that. Just because some employee prints something up, that doesn't make it law until it's signed and agreed upon. So, to me, having something printed up doesn't mean anything. It just means he's being efficient. I mean, he's got documents, and we've had documents that just say, I'm not signing that, and we throw them out. It's just because some
I wish
secretary made
it
up.
were that easy to say, no, I'm not signing that in front of what I was confronted with. The purpose of them signing, or typing up that consent decree, they had already in their mind found me guilty, and nothing I could say was gonna change their mind. And that's proven in the fact that on my first reconsideration hearing, I had the evidence, and they wouldn't hear it. They weren't gonna hear it then. They were going to have me sign it, and they wanted their money, and scared me shitless into signing that
At
thing.
any time did you consult a lawyer?
Wasn't allowed to, man.
No, I'm talking about, you left.
After.
At any time did you talk to a lawyer when you weren't in the building? Did you talk to a lawyer about any time before, during, or after?
Not about this.
Okay, so you never consulted a lawyer about it during that time frame?
Correct.
Okay, just asking if you got any legal advice.
And
No.
just, you know, I mean, I'm not a lawyer or anything, but just, you know, dentist to dentist, I would tell you, don't ever sign anything you don't know what it is you're signing and stuff like that. And I know you felt pressure, I understand. I wasn't there, I'm assuming you telling the truth about that, and I understand. But even if you feel pressure, don't sign anything.
Well, going forward, I won't, but back then, and this is why we're here,
Okay.
H.O. Blackwood slammed that thing down and said, sign it, your license is on the line. Now, how do you not sign something? If you think your license, if you leave out of there and not signing it, if that license is going to be pulled, which he directly threatened if I didn't sign it, he was that kind of guy.
He didn't tell you that you had, if you didn't sign it, you could go to a formal or whatever.
No, that's what I'm saying, you guys are, I had never knew that there was something after the DOC.
Well, that's the rule. If the DOC goes against your favor, you have the right to do a formal hearing, which he's talking about. Then you have a
I'm
lawyer.
hearing that now.
Then you could.
That's in the law. I mean, it's always been in the law.
Well, I didn't bring a law book.
I'm just
I'm in there,
saying,
H.O. Blackwood is threatening my
I was
license
asking
saying
if you
sign
talked
it.
to a lawyer to look this up anytime, because they would have told you, said, we don't have to sign it.
Lawyers weren't on the table.
Okay.
Secondary hearings weren't on the
I
table.
wasn't there.
It was silent.
It's not how we do it now.
Well, it
Well,
wasn't how
good.
they did it. Well, it's not, they couldn't have just taken your license away anyway.
It's
They'd
not
have done
possible.
something.
H.O. said he could.
Yeah.
Well, he can't. He's only one, 14 people.
Well, he's
have
dead
to-
now, thank God, so he can't.
We have to have a hearing with the full board of 14 people.
So one,
Um,
go ahead, I'm sorry, Patty.
Go right ahead.
That's
Ask a
okay,
question.
that's okay,
Ask
I'm
a
good.
question.
No, I'm curious as to, I believe the last time you came to board with anything was in 2013.
That's about right.
And so I'm just curious, what made you choose now? What made you say, I'm gonna come back if we haven't heard anything from you in the last 6 years.
That's a great question. I felt for so long that it was over, it was done, the board was unbeatable with Kent Morrison and Begay and Barry Ogden and that power. There was no way, given the evidence that I had already brought, there's no way that anything I did was going to change their mind. Until I heard the proceedings with Dr. Haygood and Dr. Mills, who I've been in touch with, Senator Mills, Senator Peacock in the Senate, who I've gotten wind of that things are changing in the board, that new people are coming in. It's not the same old dictatorship or whatever it was, Gestapo, and that I may have a chance with some reasonable people hearing reasonable information and finally going without prejudice or judgment beforehand, because y'all haven't heard this stuff firsthand. Y'all weren't there. Everybody on the old board did, and they were already prejudiced. So I'm thinking, maybe I've got a shot at getting this thing right, because things seem to be changing.
It just randomly, that conversation came up, I'm just curious.
Randomly, with whom?
From where, well, I'm just curious, you know.
Well, as I mentioned, I talked to Dr. Haygood, who said his case was in the Senate and it was going forward, that things are changing in the board. Yeah, it was random because he and I are colleagues and we chit-chat about his life and stuff. Told me what was going on, so.
And that,
It really wasn't random so much that we were talking and it sort of came up in the course of the conversation.
As Ms. Hanson said, those employees you mentioned are gone 3.5 years now, so we're wondering why you brought this up now, because we made all those changes a long time ago.
Well, I didn't know the board had changed. I'm sitting there thinking for all these years that it's the same, it's the same, it's the same. And then I got wind that the board is changing, there's some new members, and I thought, okay, well, now's my chance to hopefully go make it right, or have it made right.
One of the things that you said in your letter, or your email, was it that the investigator had begun the investigation illegally before we were given an opportunity to discuss anything in the informal meeting? I'm just reading what you said.
Correct.
So you understand, we have not spoken before about your case. I haven't spoken with Dr. Merritt or with Ms. Hanson.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've also not done any investigation. I don't know anything about, I've read your documents, but I haven't investigated anything else.
Right.
And I haven't, it's always, I think, prudent when you're looking at something in the past that you would get both sides to every story.
Sure.
Maybe 3 or 4 sides to every story. And so I really feel like more needs to be investigated before we would take this to the full board. Okay? In other words, you present us with some evidence. We need, nothing personal. Anybody can come in and say these things were true. I think it would be prudent to investigate and make sure the things that you're saying are true before we recommend that it would go to the whole board for the, whatever you call that, reconsideration of adverse sanctions to be considered, so that then it could go forward to either the ALJ or a full
So you recommend a more formal hearing?
I recommend that we have more investigation before we determine whether or not we think it has merit to go forward.
Okay. Are y'all aware of the fact that I have in the charts
I read the charges.
that with the doctor's signatures right here
Right.
on the dates in question?
Right.
So that's not proof enough that their signatures are right here in the patient's chart?
I don't know their signatures. I'd have to talk to those doctors. Wouldn't that be prudent? I'm not saying
Yeah.
that you did, but if you want
No, I
to,
see.
I would need to talk with those doctors and say, did you or did you not write this? Did you or did not write those prescriptions? Did you or did not? And I need to talk with the pharmacist. Did you or did you not fill the prescriptions? See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you're not telling the truth,
Mhm.
but you might be amazed that people do sometimes don't tell the truth. And so if you want us to have an investigation legally, according to what you think is
Okay.
right, then we should do an investigation. And I don't feel right taking it to the whole board and asking them to reconsider adverse sanctions if we haven't investigated the contingencies you made. I think that's the proper thing to do.
That sounds logical to me.
Yeah, Dr. Starling, the challenge that we have is you raise, and we can't judge them, but you raise significant questions about facts that were developed that resulted in your consent decree.
Yes.
Facts that you really feel weigh in your favor. But due process requires that those be tested by a process. The process is investigation, evaluation by a DOC, and potentially a hearing of some kind. What we have before us today is simply a yes-no vote on your request for reconsideration, which then goes to the board, and the board can, based on the recommendation of this panel, may make some further recommendations or some actions. I'm hearing Dr. House suggest that he would like the Board of Dentistry to perhaps take a second look at the facts, maybe do some additional investigation.
That's correct. If it turns out, so I take your allegations seriously, and I think if it were me, I would want the investigation to, I would want to have my name cleared if I thought someone had unjustly slurred my name, okay? So, I'm not speaking to your particular case, I don't know what I would do. I'm just saying,
you are.
just in general, so if you want to do that, then I think that, because, maybe the investigation that was done, whatever was done, there's some question about its validity, whether or not it's accurate, then we'd have to go back and look at that all over again. Now, I don't know if we can only say yes or no to further.
Right. This DOC is acting on a request for reconsideration, and so all that we can do today is say, yes, the board should take a second look at this case. And it may well be that you all recommend to the board,
We take a look at it.
The evidence needs to be reopened, the case needs to be reopened, we need to look at this again. It's possible that there needs to be a reinvestigation of this matter.
Could it be something that we say, okay, we're going to postpone our decision about whether it goes to reconsideration by the full board until we get more information to determine whether it should be going to the full board for reinvestigation. Although we don't do that, instead we say there's some merit to this one needs to be reinvestigated.
Yeah, I would recommend if the result you want is that the facts that Dr. Starling is concerned about be reinvestigated, be looked at again, that this panel say, yes, the reconsideration has merit, and then when it is addressed at the full board, that someone make a motion that the case be reopened and reinvestigated and reevaluated, and then a recommendation then be made to the board as to what should occur.
Okay.
And that way, Dr. Starling, due process, which, and this was my point, was terminated by your signing a consent decree, can now be potentially restarted. And the facts that you're concerned about can be addressed under the Administrative Procedures Act. Or not. I mean, the board may look at the facts and say, we got it right the first time. In which case,
If we say we don't reconsider, what are his options?
if this committee chooses not to reconsider at this point
Something
in
that happened
time,
10 years ago.
nothing.
He had
will
no way to open this up legally.
No.
Okay, just ask.
If we don't reconsider, then nothing will change about your process, except you'll have a record that was never changed, that you feel like needs to be changed.
So if you say no reconsideration.
If we were to say that, then what would happen is there would not be another investigation. He could request another reconsideration. Is it every year?
Every year?
Yeah, once a year you can request a reconsideration.
Okay. So do we need to discuss this, or?
Well, we're in open session,
So
so
we just
you can discuss it between yourselves, or you can, you want to put a motion on the table before discussion though, so.
Okay. So I want to make a motion then that we refer this back to the full board for a reevaluation, a reinvestigation, because it does appear that it has, if the facts are as you state, then it does appear to have some merit.
So you're looking at Brian to look at all these documents and talk to other dentists and pharmacists and come up with a report,
That's what I would suggest.
as opposed to the other option of just throwing this out, proceeding with the hearing, the formal hearing, or the administrative judge hearing.
Well, if we're recommending it to the full board, then the full board will have to decide whether or not
That's right.
to, it's not up to us to decide
I
whether.
know, but the board has three choices. One is to deny his request, go on. The other is to say, let's investigate it with our people, talk to the dentist and pharmacist, look at the paperwork, it'd take him days to look through everything and talk to people, and come up with a formal report from our investigator. And at that point, we can do anything you want or what we like. And the other end is to say, okay, just throw this out and just go on to a formal hearing, and have
Or
a
administrative law judge.
complete trial.
Sure.
Either here within the board or an administrative judge somewhere else that
That's
doesn't
right.
involve us.
That's right.
Those are our three choices.
That's for the board's three choices.
I know.
This committee can only say, send it to the board.
Our recommendation, though, can be given to the board,
Yes,
and it
indeed.
will be asked.
Yes,
Right, right.
Those are our three choices.
Dr. Starling, just so that you know, and I'm, again, no lawyer, I'm not trying to give you legal advice, but after any hearing by administrative law judge, or even a formal hearing by the board, you have other rights where you can appeal. And after they are done, you have other rights where you can appeal. And after they're done, you have other rights where you can appeal. Well, I suppose the Supreme Court would be the highest court in the land. That's hard to imagine they would hear that, but I'm no lawyer, okay, so I don't know. So I'm just saying, you always have recourse, not just about this matter, but any legal matter. It's not over when the first judge says whatever, or the third jury says whatever.
Sure, I understand. Well, thank you.
I have another question. Does he have the option right now to say, I want to stop right now where we are and just go to a formal, or go to the administrative law judge?
No,
Yeah.
it's up to us.
We have to do, okay.
We have to
Okay.
give him permission.
Just want to make sure that if he so chose to do those things that,
I wouldn't know if
He
you
had that
not
option.
giving that option right
The
now.
board,
so
the
you'd have
board
to
would
get
have
some
to decide to reopen,
okay, before
The
he
map.
can even do that.
and then we would go through the process of an informal, a Bertucci hearing, and then a formal. So it would be like restarting the process all
Okay.
over again,
Okay,
so that the full due process would be found. And
okay.
it's really up to the board to make the decision as to whether or not the questions in the evidence are sufficient, that it warrants what we would call in my profession a retrial.
Right.
Or in this case, it would be a
Like a
trial,
Hearing or the investigation.
Well, we call it a do-over.
a do-over.
Mulligan, of course, right?
So I have a motion on the table. Do I have a
Okay,
second?
I'll second.
All right.
I think we should just go, give him the choice of doing a hearing or not.
All right, so let's,
I don't think we have that choice. It's got to go to the
It would
board.
still have to go to the full board.
Talk about what we recommend.
so
Okay.
let's go ahead and vote on whether or not the reconsideration is accepted, yes or no.
They're not voting to reconsider.
We're voting whether or
You're
not to
saying no.
To
You're saying postpone.
Oh, but I don't think that's an
The
option.
the motion on the table is to move to accept the reconsideration and send this matter to the board.
Well, if you accept the reconsideration, you're not doing any kind of research first.
That's right.
No,
We just
it
send
goes
it to the board, and
board
then the board
does
would
it.
decide.
Yeah, but if they do the reconsideration, then the whole investigation thing's over, because then this document's all thrown out.
Let me start over. All this committee can do is say, we do not recommend any reconsideration of the consent decree, or we do recommend that the board review the consent decree and review Dr. Starling's concerns. That's all we do.
Oh, okay, that's okay.
That's it. So the motion on the table is to accept the request for reconsideration
Yeah, all that
and
other
send
stuff I
this
said
issue to
doesn't-
the board for the board
Yeah.
to make the kind of determinations you consider.
Okay.
That's the motion that's on the table.
Right.
And I call for
Yay.
a vote. Yay?
Yay.
Yay? Unanimous. Thank you. All right, Dr. Starling, the way this is gonna work is the board will meet this afternoon. And if you're available, you may be needed. I'll send you back to Mr. Hickam for the logistics in that regard.
Our meeting starts at 1.
If you have a lawyer, if you've consulted a lawyer, if you can consult a lawyer, I strongly recommend it, because you do have due process.
Not before this meeting at 1.
If you can make a phone call when you walk out of here, I recommend it, okay?
You don't have to do anything.
You don't have to do anything, but you have due process rights, and I suggest you get somebody on board to advise you. You're not in immediate peril. Don't get that sense from me.
Yeah, we're not.
You're not in immediate peril at all. But my job is to make sure that you understand that you have rights. And I want to make sure that you're able to exercise those rights. And that's why I'm encouraging you to reach out to a lawyer just as soon as you can. Okay? But you're not in immediate peril.
At that meeting, will I be given a chance to read what I had written about the reason I think all of this is no
That's
good?
entirely up to the board. As to whether
It's up to the board president, but he's not gonna get involved with the hearing this afternoon. We're not gonna spend an hour on this.
Okay, I thought that's what it was. What would I be coming back at 1:04?
If they have some questions perhaps, but what we'll probably do, what we usually do is the whole board then would ask the people in the DOC, they would ask us about what was said and what the merits of your complaint or whatever.
Okay.
We would make a recommendation to the full board of what we think ought to happen.
Okay.
And then the full board will vote. And I'm gonna suggest, and the rest may suggest something different, I don't know, but I'm gonna suggest that it be investigated. And then, and whatever procedure either goes to, whatever happens as far as like it's gonna go to a new DOC or what, I don't know what the board will vote.
Or a new formal or administrative judge or DOC, whatever the
Whatever.
proper way to go. And always, after we vote, always, at least this is my tenure here in 8 years, we tell you your options and say, call us in 2 weeks. There's never a pressure to do anything.
Yeah,
like
we
that.
don't say, sign this or, I've never seen that, but I'm not saying it didn't happen. I wasn't
Well, I'll
there.
tell you how it's gonna happen. Forgetting about the past. Whatever happens, it's like, here are your choices, call us in 2 weeks. So you have time to do whatever you feel like doing.
Yeah,
And
consult legal
And
advice.
consult counsel, which is very
You
important.
should always do that if you have any questions.
And all the future steps would involve a lawyer.
Mhm.
You'd probably be requested to have a lawyer at all future steps. This is just an informal hearing.
Okay. This one is informal. Thing at 1 would be called.
No, that's just the board
Just the
meeting.
board meeting.
It's not here.
That's just our board meeting that we.
So if I'm unlucky in getting an attorney before then,
You'll be fine. You're
Okay.
You
not
have to
in
make
peril.
any decision.
No, the attorney's not really gonna be.
well, you said
involved
get on the
in
phone the
either.
minute I walk out of here, that's
I-
scary.
And I don't mean to scare you. I can be a little scary.
I don't think
Well,
that-
legal.
Lawyers are scary just in
Yeah, I know.
They're all scary. What I'm trying to do is encourage you
Mhm.
that while your rights are not in peril today,
Okay.
okay, you have legitimate due process concerns, and you would not hesitate to hire
Okay.
someone, okay? Because you had told us before that you were concerned that you weren't encouraged to go get a lawyer. And this is a new day, okay? I want you to make sure that you have counsel and that you know that you can get counsel.
To circle back around on your question, the reason I'm waiting to do this now is because I heard that people like you are in positions where you are, and you are nothing like the way it used to be. There was no due process.
I can't comment on that, I wasn't here. Oh, we
Well, I'm
got-
just telling you an answer to her question. Sure. That is why.
Yeah, I was just curious on why the time span, and curious why these senators were copied on your request.
That pertains to Haygood's, what's going on with Ryan Haygood and his review with the board. He suggested that I contact Mills, and Mills assured me that the Senate was aware that there was some really bad transgressions in the past, and they're following through, so I just wanted them to be aware of my case.
Those are all people that aren't here anymore. There's not one person from 10 years ago that's employee or on the board,
And that's why I'm,
so.
Okay.
Have we done, I have a comment.
I need an adjournment.
I'll make a motion to
Second.
Madam Chairman.
Sure. I have one comment.
yes, sir.
I'm slightly offended. My father, on his 19th birthday, was bleeding on the cell floor in Frankfurt after being beat up by the Gestapo. I take great offense of calling this organization, or any American organization, Gestapo.
I certainly
take great
apologize.
offense.
It was my intent, because Gestapo to me has been just a word to, like KGB is used to.
Nazi, Gestapo, Hitler mean things to me.
I was unaware, and I am sorry. I really
I'm
am.
retired military and I fight against that kind of crap.
And I thank you for your service, man.
Please
I
don't use that
didn't
word
know.
again in front of presidents.
Don't you worry, I won't. I apologize.
And Norm,
Really, I didn't know the significance of what that meant.
I'm Norwegian.
Didn't know what it meant.
I'm Norwegian. My grandfather was shot in the Gestapo prison in Oslo in the last days of the Second World War because he was captured resistance. Don't use that around.
So-
Big terrible guys, right?
Yeah, they were.
It's not American people do that.
We don't do that here.
I meant
Nice
in
to
the
meet you,
sense
Dr.
that
Stone.
these old board members were big, terrible guys.
You can use the word terrible, you